begin. We have 7 minutes. We'll begin and then we'll do the Sikha that we started in Chelik Daled. Okay. Bisyaita Deshmaya. See up on the top there, Beit Seya Samach Daled. Bisyaita Deshmaya, with the help of God. With the help of God. And in a way, that's the main thing of the Mimor. That we have to do everything on our own, and Hashem helps us. That's the way God set up the world. And after we do everything on our own, and Hashem helps us, afterwards we realize that really we didn't do anything. But God was creating us all the time, and He was giving us the power to do it. He was keeping us alive. He was giving us eyes to see, and He was making it that we didn't have toothaches, ingrown toenails, or something that makes you, incapacitates you, right? So the whole thing is just an amazing miracle. He's creating our bodies. He's creating the whole world. He's creating the whole universe. He's creating our power of free will. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. But nevertheless, He wants us to do the whole thing ourselves. That's Bisyaita, with the help, the Shmaya of God, of heaven. Bisyaita the Shmaya. This is going to teach us how to do it, how we can do everything ourselves, and Hashem will help us. Yom Beis, the second day of Chag HaShavuos, Tafshin Mem Vav, 1986. Ator Reis Ladas, Ki Hashem Hu Elokim, Ein Od Milvado. It's a pasuk in the Torah. You were shown to know, the Jewish people on Mount Sinai, they saw a God. It says, Panim Lepanim. What this means, who couldn't have any idea? But that's what it was. Ator Reis, you were shown, Ladat, in order to know. Ki Hashem Elokim, that God is Elokim. That God is, Elokim is the force of creation. Elokim is the name of God that's plural. How God makes Himself plural and creates all these trees and bugs and atoms and cells and things like that. All the stars, that's the name Elokim. God has this, creates this amazing diversity of things and so many things, so great. That's the name Elokim. But Hashem, that's Yud Ke Vav Ke, that's above all diversity. That's the source of all existence. Like I said a lot of times before, we can't really say God exists. God creates all existence. God's existence is so infinitely real, we don't experience it. And Mount Sinai, they felt it. That's why it says their souls jumped out of their bodies. You were shown to know that Hashem, that Yud Ke Vav Ke, the name of God, which is above all being, is Elokim. That is what is creating all being. Ein Od Milvado, and there is nothing except for Him. There is nothing except for God. Pasuk on the Torah. All right, what does it mean there's nothing except for Him? It means there's the world that we see it is just a thin cover of what godliness really is. And because we don't see behind it, so we think it's really like people, you go to a movie. I don't know if they still have movie theaters. They used to have a thing called a movie theater. You went to a movie theater and you would watch the picture on the screen and everybody would just go, it would just be tremendously good. But it was just pictures on the screen. And there was a person back there that he would show the movie as he just knew it was a picture on the screen. He wasn't really interested in what was going on. Right? And other people were crying and they were laughing and they were afraid and they were screaming and they were this, because you only saw just the external of this light. You didn't see what was really going on. It was really just a bunch of light, and that the people that are there, even if you would see them, they're just actors. They're not really real. It's not really World War II over there. The same thing, the world. It's just this thin veneer of reality, right? But the reason Hashem makes it is that we should reveal the Creator in this veneer. So that's what happened on Mount Sinai when was shown in this physical world that nothing is except for God, that the whole thing is a creation of God, and that God really wants this world. He's really creating it for an amazingly high purpose. Katov, it is written in Mishnah Torah. It is written in the Mishnah Torah. Mishnah Torah in this case is the book of Deuteronomy. Moshe said it on his own. The whole book of Mishnah Torah, it doesn't say one time Vayadaber Elokim el Moshe lemor. It doesn't say one time in the book of Deuteronomy, the sentence that's found everywhere after book of Shemot, God spoke to Moses saying, God spoke. It doesn't say that. Moses just saying himself. That what we say in Shema Yisrael every day. If you do my commandments, I will give the rains in their time. This was Moses saying himself. Now, nobody thought that Moses was the one who gave the rain. Everybody knew, and nobody thought that the commandments were Moshe's commandments. Everybody knew that Moshe was just like an amplifier, just speaking God's words. They were just coming through him. But nevertheless, this was God's revelation in the world in a way that it was included in the world. This sentence was said, I am God. I have shown you to know that Hashem is Elohim. There's nothing except for him. This happened when? In Matan Torah, when God gave the Torah. And Moshe Rabbeinu reminded the Jewish people before they went into the land of Israel that this is what happened. Mimor Rabbeinu was Zaki, and the Alter Rebbe explained in his book, the Tanya, to Inyan Zeh, that this whole topic, this idea, Haya B'Shas Matan Torah, is the time of Matan Torah. It's in chapter 36. The Az then was the revelation of Ata Res Ladas. This is something like the Alter Rebbe says, like the raising of the dead. All the Jewish people died, and God enlivened them with this special dew that enlivens the dead. We say it in the second prayer of Shmon Esrei, right? Mechaya Metim. Ketorah Admor Zaken, like the Alter Rebbe said, Ata Haresa Ladat, Ata Du, means you, Atzmos Ein Sof, Haresa, you have shown, Du hast zich beweisen, you revealed yourself, Ladat, as men zolvesen, so that we should know, Hashem Elohim, God, you revealed yourself so that we should know that Hashem is Elohim, that God is the creator of all being, and there's nothing except for him. God is creating all being constantly from nothing, like we learned in the previous Maamar. Shehem Beisofan. In other words, Hashem is infinitely far from us. He's infinitely higher than all the spiritual worlds. But on the other hand, he's infinitely close to us. Infinitely close. He creates us. He creates our eyeballs and our ears and everything. He creates everything. Infinitely. He's nothing except for Hashem. Does this make any sense? Totally not. But it's totally true. This is two ways of understanding godliness. This is two ways of understanding God. And it is a commandment to try to understand God. That's why we're giving a brain. So we should use it to try to understand the Creator. And when we try to understand the Creator, it puts things more, right? It's like reading a road map, and you're reading a road map, and the road map is the road map of Hong Kong. And you stop somebody and say, can you tell me where is this street? The person says, what have you got a road map of? That's Hong Kong. You're not in Hong Kong. You're in London. Oh, man. Oh, this is really something. I didn't know that. It's the same thing. You're in the world, and you have the wrong map, right? You have the wrong map. You were told that you have to live here in order to make money, or you have to live for pleasure, whatever you got the wrong map. If you understand what Hashem is, then you get the right map. Then things are totally different. It's also not immediately understood. The roads are very, very convoluted, and there's dead-end roads also. But nevertheless, you have to have the right map. That was what God gave at Mount Sinai. To know God is getting the right map, and there's two ways of doing it. There's two ways of understanding God. One is Hasaga, that Hashem Elohim is Kul Echad. One is that God and Elohim, God and the creator and the creation are really one. God is creating everything constantly from nothing. And the other one is Hasaga de Ein Od Milvado. The other one is that there's nothing except for God. Or in a simple way, we can call it, they call it sometimes the lower unity and the upper unity. The lower unity means looking at things from our point of view. Namely what? We see a world, but we realize the world is just a creation. God is creating it. The world isn't really, it's not as confusing as we think. Right? We see a world, and the world seems to be independent, but we learn Chassidic and we realize it's not. And we try to figure out how it can be. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is looking from God's point of view. That's like the tzaddikim. They look at it that everything is pure godliness. God is creating everything. Everything that happens is just a big surprise and a big miracle, and they're just used to it. It's just God's world. That means there's nothing except for Hashem. Two ways of looking. The world exists, but God is the ruler over it. And the other one is that there's nothing except for God. All there is. Or we can say the other way around, that the world is obvious and God is the miracle. Or we can say the opposite. God is obvious and the world is a miracle. That's the second way of looking at it. As God, we got all of this at Mount Sinai, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now